We're now entering into Lancashire, and when I look at my John Speed map of Lancashire, which dates from 1610, it's amazing to see how much of the next part of the Lune Valley was important enough at that date to be recorded. South of Kirby Lonsdale, the river is now in its mature stage, with large meanders, and it's obvious over the centuries it has changed course many times. On the west bank of the Lune is Sellet Mill near Whittington, an 18th century corn mill, and just behind it, almost imperceptible to the human eye, are the remains of an ancient British settlement, now mere lumps in the field, hiding what history, I wonder. Whittington, 2 miles south of Kirby Lonsdale, was mentioned in the Domesday Book as being the manor of Witoun, or Wytoun. It was the seat of a great lordship belonging to Earl Tostig. Whittington's church, St Michael of the Archangel, like several churches in the Lune Valley, has a Norman motte in its grounds. Its 15th century tower, complete with the statuette of St Michael, stands high above the surrounding countryside, and close by is an ancient sundial. The local pub, the Dragon's Head, has a unique feature for its drinkers. It's also the village post office. It was in Whittington on the 22nd of May 1783 that William Sturgeon, one of the pioneers of electromagnetism, was born. In 1825 he built the first practical electromagnet, and it was this that led to the invention of the telegraph, the electric motor, and many of our everyday electrical devices. Once a year, usually in the spring, the hunting and racing community get together for the Vale of Lune point-to-point. For those of you who, like me, have never been to a point-to-point before, all the horses entered must have hunted regularly during the current season. Whatever one's political colour, is it really right in our civilised society to allow government to interfere in a way of life that has been traditional for centuries? Without the hunts taking place, there would be no training of the horses or of the riders, and thus no point-to-points like these. Obviously, judging by the thousands of people who turn out for this one in Whittington, the 1984 Orwellian concept advocated by the Labour government does not find favour with people in the Lune Valley. Across the river at Burrow is Burrow Hall. Thomas Fenwick built it in 1740 over the remains of a Roman fort. A most unwelcoming place indeed, I found. I was told in no uncertain terms that I wasn't even allowed to stand on the roadside grass by the gate. From Netherborough, a lane leads eastwards to Cowan Bridge, and it was here that Maria, Elizabeth, Charlotte and Emily Bronte lived when they were attending the clergy daughter school in 1824. The school, now gone, became Lowood in Charlotte's Jane Eyre, and that is the school that was moved to Casterton that we've seen earlier. The Reverend Carus Wilson was the founder here, as at Casterton, but he was also the vicar of Tunstall. Every Sunday the girls had to make the 2-mile walk to Tunstall Church, and then, in the evening, walk those same 2 miles back again. In Jane Eyre, this church became Brocklebridge Church. The Bronte sisters, frozen from the walk, would huddle together in this tiny room above the porch and eat their Spartan lunch of cold meat and bread between the services. Their only light, this tiny window. They were only 6 to 8 years of age, and it's no surprise that Maria, only 8 years of age, died of consumption in 1825. The church is recorded in the Domesday Survey of 1086, but the prior influence of the Romans in the area can be seen by this piece of votive stone from the nearby fort at Burrow Hall. It's dedicated to the Roman goddess of healing, Hygeia. The church is nearly all from the 15th century and seems to have escaped Oliver Cromwell and his thugs' tour of the countryside. But this altar stone dates back to the 8th century and is testimony to a much earlier Christian worship. Parts of the north aisle are 13th century, and the carvings on this pillar are similar to those of a doorway in nearby Thurland Castle, more of which later. The rather battered stone effigy in the fireplace is thought to be that of Sir Thomas of Tunstall, who was knighted in 1426.